Alrighty guys, welcome to our NBA video here today for Sunday, January 8th, 2023. And if you find yourself enjoying this video here today, please feel free to give it a thumbs up by smashing that like button. I'd really appreciate if you did that for me. You have no idea how much that helps the channel, spikes the algorithm, allows a lot more people to find me. And I'll tell you what, if you haven't done so already, please feel free to hit that subscribe button as well. I'd love to connect with you on a daily basis. And for those of you who don't already know, my name is Brock Page. I've been doing sports picks for free on YouTube since 2016. And if you want to see which one of these free picks on my videos that I'm actually betting on personally, you may want to think about signing up for a membership on my website. It's patreon.com/BrockPage. And I'll include a link for that site in the description section below. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into some free content. We're going to take a look at the Sixers at the Pistons, 3 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Philadelphia's -5, totals 230. And even though the Sixers are still going to work without Joel Embiid, they're still very tough to score against. These guys are in the top 5 in fewest points allowed per game on the road. When it comes to the scoring, well, they still have some guys who can get to the net, even though Joel is out, like James Harden, who's averaging over 22 points a game, along with double-digit assists. Now, real quick here, they're facing a Detroit squad who lost 7 out of their last 10, and they do find themselves 20 games below 500 already. When it comes to defensive play, the Pistons allow more points a game on the road than any other team in the association. Now, injury-wise, Livers and Bagley are still out. Durant is questionable. Meanwhile, for Philly, once again, Joel Embiid's out. PJ Tucker has been scratched with an illness. Now, total-wise, the Sixers saw unders against the likes of Oklahoma City, Toronto, and this very Detroit squad. The Pistons, on the other side, they've been held to just 104 points a game in their last 10 meetings with Philadelphia. So if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that one there. I'm going to lean toward the Sixers, -5, under 230. Next game, it is going to be Blazers-Raptors, 3:30 Eastern tip-off. Toronto's -3, totals 225.5. And even though they are favored by a bucket, Toronto's played some pretty bad basketball recently. They're on a 3-game losing streak, and they also lost 7 out of their last 10. When it comes to shooting the basketball, not many teams are worse than Toronto. These guys are in the bottom 3 in field goal percentage. They're also making just 32% of their three-pointers. That's nearly a league low. Now, they're facing a Portland team who plays some really tough defense themselves. These guys are currently in the top 5 in fewest points allowed per game on the road. They're also in the top 3 in defensive boards. Now, Yusuf Nurkic grabs over 9.5 rebounds a night. He's also scoring 14 points a game. Now, Dame Lillard scoring a team-high 27 points a game himself. When it comes to shooting from long range, the Blazers are one of the best teams out there to do it. They actually have the 4th highest three-point percentage in the NBA. Now, injury-wise, Winslow and Little are out for Portland. Meanwhile, for Toronto on the other side, Otto Porter's out for them. When it comes to the total, Toronto saw unders against the likes of Milwaukee, Phoenix, and Memphis. Meanwhile, Portland went 7-3 to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward Portland +3, under 225.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Hornets at the Pacers, 5 o'clock Eastern start time. Indiana's -5.5, totals 241 and a hook. Now, the Pacers have been really good covering the number here recently. They're 8-1 against the spread in their last 9. They're also 14-7 against the number in the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And a lot of that success is due to some really good offensive production. The Pacers average nearly 120 points a game in their own building. They're also led by Tyrese Halliburton, who averages over 20 points a game, along with double-digit assists. When it comes to shooting the three-pointer, Ty's drilling nearly 41% of his long balls. And speaking of three-point shooting, Buddy Hield's knocking down nearly 43% of his long-distance shots. Now, they're facing a Charlotte team who's playing some of the worst defense in the NBA. They're allowing over 120 points a game when they travel. They're also averaging fewer defensive rebounds a game than any other team in the NBA except for one. And for those who don't already know, the Hornets are currently 11-29 on the season. They're actually tied for Detroit for the lowest win total in the Eastern Conference. Now, injury-wise, Hayward is doubtful. Oubre is out. Meanwhile, for Indy on the other side, Smith and Mathurin are questionable. Tice and Brown are out for them. When it comes to the total, Indy went 5-1 to the over in their last 6. Meanwhile, Charlotte's gone 67% to the over in their road games. I'm going to lean toward Indy -5.5, over 241 and a hook. Next ball game, Nets Heat, 6 o'clock East. Brooklyn's -4, totals 223. Now, Brooklyn is the best shooting team in the Eastern Conference. As a matter of fact, these guys are leading the entire league in shooting efficiency on the road. They're currently shooting a league-high 51% from the field when they travel. And no real shocker here, guys. They also have the highest three-point percentage on the road in the game. Now, Royce O'Neal's drilling 42% of his shots from three-land. Meanwhile, Kevin Durant scoring a team-high 30 points a game. Now, they're facing a Miami team who's actually one of the worst covering teams at home in the league. Out of 19 contests in South Beach here this year, the Heat covered the point spread just 5 times. And, of course, that's good for only 26% in that category. So if you've been backing these guys at home, you're essentially losing 74% of your bets. And much of that is due to a lack of offense. Miami's averaging fewer points per contest than any other team in the association. Now, injury-wise, the Heat's got a slew of guys banged up right now. Haslam, Dedmon, Adebayo, Hero, Martin, and Vincent. They are all questionable to play here today. And, of course, Robinson, Jovic, and Yurtseven are still out. Now, when it comes to the total, Miami went 3-1 to the under in their last 4 at home. They also went 70% to the under in their last 10 at any location. Meanwhile, Brooklyn on the other side, they went 4-3 to the under as the road team. I'm going to lean toward the Nets -4, under 223. Next contest, it is going to be Jazz Grizzlies, 6 o'clock Eastern start time. Memphis is -7, totals 233. And even though the Grizzlies are favored, they are banged up a little bit. John Morant and Steven Adams, they are questionable to play here today. And of course, Danny Green and Brandon Clark are out. And even when these guys are mostly healthy, the Grizzlies don't play the Jazz really all that well. Out of their last 10 head-to-head meetings, the Grizzlies got the W only 3 times. They also allowed 121 points a game in those contests. Now, they're facing a Utah team on the other side of things who certainly has little issue getting on the scoreboard despite their recent skid. The Jazz currently find themselves in the top 3 in the NBA in points per contest. And they're led by Lauri Markkanen, who scores 24 points a game. Now, Markkanen's also been a legit deep ball threat. He's making nearly 42% of his shots from downtown. Now, Kelly Olynyk, he's also making 40% of his 3 balls himself. When it comes to the injury report, Colin Sexton is still out with a hammy. Meanwhile, for Memphis, once again, Morant and Adams are questionable. Clark and Green are out. Now, total-wise, Memphis went 7-3 to the under in their last 10. Meanwhile, for Utah, they saw unders against the likes of Sacramento, Golden State, and Washington. I'm going to lean toward Utah +7, under 233. Next matchup, Mavs Thunder, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Oklahoma City's -3, totals 227. Now, OKC's played some pretty good basketball in the Paycom Center. They're covering in 62% of their home games. And they're also averaging nearly 120 points a night there. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's averaging over 30.5 points a game, along with 4 boards, 5 assists. Meanwhile, Josh Giddey scores over 15 points a night himself. They're facing a Dallas team who's one of the worst covering teams in the NBA. And I'll tell you what, covering on the road is certainly no exception. They're terrible covering on the road. Out of 18 contests away from Dallas, these guys covered in just 33% of those outings. Now, these guys are also the worst offensive rebounding team in the game. When it comes to the injury report, Luka Doncic is questionable. Finney Smith, Kleba, and Green are out. Meanwhile, for Oklahoma City on the other side, Williams is questionable for them. Pokashevsky, Robinson, Earl, and Deng are also sitting out as well. Now, total-wise, OKC's gone 14-7 to the over in their own arena. Meanwhile, Dallas saw 5 out of their last 7 at any location get over the line. I'm going to lean toward Oklahoma City -3 over 227. Next ball game, it is going to be Timberwolves Rockets, 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Minnesota's -2.5, totals 228 and a hook. Now, the T-Wolves won their last 3 straight despite some injuries. They're also playing pretty tough on the defensive side of the court. These guys have one of the lowest defensive field goal percentages in the Western Conference. And, of course, when it comes to offensive production, D'Angelo Russell scores 17 points a game along with 6 assists. Meanwhile, Rudy Gobert averages nearly double-digit rebounds a night. Now, they're facing an ice-cold Houston team who lost their last 6 straight, and they also posted a record of just 1-11 straight up in their last dozen. And for those who don't already know, the Rockets currently have the lowest win total in the entire NBA. And, of course, that's just 10 wins on the year right now. Now, on a lighter note, injury-wise, well, Houston is relatively healthy at the moment. No significant scratches to report to you, at least for now. So I think you're in the clear if you're backing them here today as far as availability. Now, for the T-Wolves on the other side, Forbes, Reed, and Edwards are questionable. Towns and McLaughlin are out. When it comes to the total, Minnesota saw their last 4 straight on the road get over the number, 6-2 to the over in their last 8 at any location. I'm going to lean toward Minnesota -2.5 over 228 and a hook. Next matchup, it is going to be Cavs Suns, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Cleveland's -4.5, totals 215. Now, the Cavs won 3 out of their last 4. They're arguably the best defensive team in the league. Cleveland allows a league-low 107 points a game in their road trips. They're also leading the entire NBA in defensive boards away from home as well. Jared Allen averages double-digit rebounds a night, 13 points a game for the big man. Meanwhile, Donovan Mitchell is scoring a team-high 29 points a game himself. Now, they're facing a struggling, injured Phoenix team who lost 8 out of their last 9. When it comes to shooting the basketball, the Suns have one of the lower offensive field goal percentages at home in the West. Now, injury-wise, Chris Paul is questionable. Crowder, Booker, Payne, and Johnson are out. Meanwhile, for Cleveland, Garland is questionable. Rubio, Windler, and Wade are out for them. Now, when it comes to the total in this one, the Cavs have gone 60% to the under in their contest against a Western Conference opponent. Meanwhile, Phoenix has gone 60% to the under in their home games. I'm going to lean toward the Cavaliers, -4.5, under 215. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video. It is going to be Hawks at the Clippers, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. The LA Clippers are -4, totals 231. And even though they're at home, the Clippers just aren't playing good enough basketball to lay any points. They lost their last 5 straight, and they're also scoring a league-low 105 points a game at home. Now, they're facing an Atlanta team who has little issue getting on the scoreboard, especially when they travel. Atlanta's currently in the top 3 in the NBA in road offensive points per game. Trae Young also averages 27 points a night, along with nearly double-digit assists. Now, of course, Bogey, he's shooting 40% from 3 land himself. Very dangerous threat shooting from long distance. Bogdanovich is also scoring 17 points a game as well. Now, injury-wise, Clint Capella is out for Atlanta. Meanwhile, for the Clippers, Batum, George, and Kennard are questionable for them. When it comes to the total, LA's going 16-3 to the under in their own building. Meanwhile, Atlanta saw unders against the likes of Sacramento, Brooklyn, and Chicago. I'm going to lean toward the Hawks, +4, under 231. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our quick pick recap. I like Philadelphia -5, under 230. Portland +3, under 225.5. Pacers -5.5, over 241 on a hook. And if you find yourself enjoying this video here today, please feel free to smash that heart button. And if you haven't done so already, please feel free to give me a follow I'd love to connect with you on a daily basis. Give me Brooklyn -4, under 223. Utah +7, under 233. Oklahoma City -3, over 227. Minnesota -2.5, over 228 and a hook. Cleveland -4.5, under 215. With my next and final free pick, I'm going to lean toward Atlanta +4, under 231.